Good morning, everyone. Good morning, dear speakers, esteemed guests, and of course, colleagues. Welcome to the Manila Times Real Estate Forum 2024, titled Reinforcing the Property and Building Industries. I am Defort Villasaran, your host for today, as well as the supplements and special projects of editor of the Manila Times. We are very excited to have our 5 speakers being able to speak today. As many of you know, we had originally planned to have this forum the previous week, but circumstances made it rather difficult for us and perhaps many of you. So we hope you're all both professionally and personally settled in all your affairs to be able to give focus to all the conversations we have about the property and building industries today. Now, we have speakers from Pag-ibig, from the sectors of Philippine Green Building Council, of course, the United Architects of the Philippines, as well as the National Real Estate Association and the International Workplace Group. I hope I've covered everyone here, and we do look forward to hearing all of the new insights and the information that will help us push the industries forward. Now, after each of the 2 batches of speakers, we will be having a fireside chat, or the question and answer portion of our program, wherein it will be hosted by the Manila Times columnist, Ben Critz. We do hope that Ben Critz goes a little easy on our speakers based on what they'll be saying. But before all that, let me introduce the man who will be giving the welcoming remarks. Now, he began his journalism journey as a weather reporter, and many storms later, both metaphorical and literal, he curiously finds himself still in discussions about headwinds and looming clouds amid the drumbeats of rainmakers, so to speak. So learning and reading are chief among his passions, which is why he has been aptly appointed as the chairman of the National Book Development Board. Some might say he is an optimist at heart when he tries to find the silver lining in the cloud, so to speak, when he interviews government officials, diplomats, and captains of industry. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present the Manila Times Chairman and CEO, Dante Clink Ang II.
Good morning, everyone. Let me first greet some of our speakers this morning. Architect Rowena Canlas Ramos of the Philippine Green Building Council, Architect Vanessa Ledesma of the United Architects of the Philippines, Ms. Rowena Natividad of IWG, Partnership Growth Head, Mr. Red Rosales of the National Real Estate Association, my colleagues at the Manila Times, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. I think this event was perhaps the most challenging we put together this year. As you all know, we were supposed to be here last week, but because of Cariño, this has been pushed back to today. And so I'm really pleased that you guys still made the time to be here with us. And I expect that, like us, you're interested in this sector because it's not only a barometer of our economic health, but it's an important one if we are to realize our aspirations for the Philippines. We have been discussing earlier with Mr. Rosales about the expectations of the industry and how maybe more of our policymakers should be talking about this sector because it affects not only the basic, I think, dream of every Filipino to be able to have a roof over their head, but also the aspiration of the Philippines to slash the poverty rate in the Philippines to single digits by the end of the Marcos administration. There are so many other aspects of the sector that we need to talk about. I mean, the storm, Cariño, is only one of them. But I want to give way to our speakers today who will be, talking about those more interestingly. Let me just say that for those of you who are attending this forum for the first time, that this is an initiative of the Manila Times really to open up what we do as a newspaper, to allow you to listen to the experts that we would normally interview for stories in our paper, but without the gatekeepers, without any middlemen to compose or refine those stories for public consumption. The reason there are cameras here because, as you know, all newspapers in the Philippines, and we're no exception, are also producing content not only in the traditional format, there are copies of the papers on your tables, but we're also delivering content on video and audio. So this is our new thing, and I was sharing with Architect Ledesma earlier that one of the new initiatives of the Manila Times is a streaming channel, which we have soft launched last month, but we're hoping to formally launch it in October when we celebrate our 126th founding anniversary. So I want to get out of the way, and so we can get to our speakers. But let me just thank our partners and sponsors who have made this event possible. Our co-presenters, Mega World and First Park Homes, our special partner, Wilcon Depot, our sponsors, Federal Land, Infinivan, the Lubian Realty Group, our venue partner, Midas Hotel Casino. I was just telling my sister that this hotel really dates back because I remember my dad taking us here every weekend to eat at a Japanese restaurant that doesn't exist anymore, so that's how old I am. Thank you also to our patron sponsors, the Facial Plus, Elos, Yam Agency, our media partners, IBC 13, where Manila Times will hopefully have a show beginning in September, the Manila Times TV, and of course, thank you again to all of you for making time, despite the fact that we had to reschedule this to today. And I look forward to having an interesting and session, and may you all have a productive day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Klink, for the welcoming remarks. And now we move on to our first keynote talk. Our first speaker is an architect with over 20 years of experience in diverse practices in design and planning, project coordination and management, and also with 12 years of her experience focusing on sustainability. Committed to delivering world-class certified green buildings, she received a special achievement recognition from the World GBC Asia Pacific Leadership Building Awards in 2020. She is the Vice Chairman and member of the Board of Trustees of the Philippine Green Building Council. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rowena Canlas Ramos.
Thank you for that introduction, and good morning, everyone. Yes, so I'm your first speaker, so I would be needing your energy as well this morning. First, allow me to thank the Manila Times for this invitation, and I would like to make special mention of our Chairman and CEO, Dante Klink Ang II. Thank you for this invitation, and for the warm conversations and welcome. Thank you to our President and Chief Operating Officer, Ms. Blanca C. Mercado. That table is really, there's a lot to learn at that table. If you have a chance to have some exchange of words with these people, brilliant people, take this chance this morning and during this forum. So, earlier with Sir Reddy, we were just talking about the change of font, and here is the change of font. But then let me let me proceed now. So once again, good morning. I am delighted to be part of the Manila Times Real Estate and Construction Forum this year and to represent the Philippine Green Building Council. I will be sharing the PhilGBC's works on how we are reinforcing the property and building industries through the Philippine Green Building Certification Program. Globally, the World GBC serves as a global network that leads the transformation of the built environment to make it healthier and sustainable. World GBC has been creating global programs and supports the local country-level approach. Let me highlight that. That is a local country approach in promoting green building that is appropriate for each country member. Collectively, the National Green Building Councils, or GBCs, in around 70 countries drive action to achieve these global goals and promote sustainable development. Each national GBC has been transforming their markets across different sectors towards a more sustainable built environment. The World GBC Network is organized across 5 regions around the world: Africa, the Americas, Asia Pacific, where we belong, Europe, and the Middle East and North Africa. Across the world, we are delivering programs and tools that drive systematic change to address whole life carbon emissions of existing and new buildings, enable resilient, healthy, equitable, and inclusive places, and secure, regenerative, resource-efficient, and waste-free infrastructures. Yes, that's a lot, but that is what we are doing as a member of the World Green Building Council. So who we are, what is PhilGBC all about? The Philippine Green Building Council leads the action in greening our built environment in the Philippines. Our objective is to ensure that we have a sustainable environment for everyone to live, work, and play. The PhilGBC is an alliance of leaders with corporate members and partners in the building industry. We can essentially sum up our work in the council as follows. We rate, we educate, we advocate for green building in the country. We are focused on developing programs and tools to support green building projects, including capacity building and trainings, advocacy programs with the national and local government, and the assessment, certification of green buildings under the comprehensive set of tools for project management or project proponents to help them to incorporate green building and net zero principles. This is from the time that you design up to the construction, operations, and maintenance of your projects. We believe we can achieve our goals through holistic approach in sustainability. So for these tools, these were developed to support the implementation and to increase the uptake of green buildings in our market. That was the question of Sir Red earlier. So how's the green building now in the country? Honestly, just like any organization, just like any campaign, we experience birth pains. But now we are, if my math is right, we are almost approaching now almost 18 years. The very first conference was way back in 2007. So the launch during the time of the activities was through a conference. And you know what? During the time, to reach out and to really make the word out about green building, the venue then was inside a mall, inside an activity center, so that people would know what green building is. We invited people to participate, to explain what are the efforts. There were booths to show what materials can be used when you want a green building to be designed and built. So when you use this rating tool, and we encourage you to use these rating tools, you can make use of this as your guidance tool. Verde, Advancing Net Zero Philippines, and Health and Well-Being is made freely available online. You can actually see it right now online and may be used in guiding the design, construction, and operations of projects in a resource-efficient, economically viable, and socially responsible manner. If you are looking for a transparency tool, this set of rating tools you can also make use of when your project successfully achieve Verde, Advancing Net Zero Philippines, and Health and Well-Being. This allows you to showcase your leadership in sustainability through unbiased, balanced, and impartial assessment and certification of your project's performance. Please take note that there is an assessment, and this is a third-party assessment, meaning it is not a self-declaration of the performance of your project. As a credible marketing tool, getting your project certified provide you with a positive marketing advantage. And because this has been certified, there is a process. This is not, again, a self-claim of how you can make use of this as your marketing tool. Unlike before, you would notice way back in the property sector, they would just say that we are doing a green development without any basis. So now you have a tool to ensure that the project is really performing as it is intended to be. This lets your clients and the public know that your project is a better performing building in the market. And lastly, as a compliance and policy support tool, earlier in the same table I heard about management risk. Yes, this is a part of it because better recognizes the performance of projects beyond existing environmental and building laws, regulations, and standards. So whatever changes that happens in our government, this will automatically be aligned with the rating tools so that you are not left out of what's going on in the building industry. So again, the alignment. I am not sure how many of you have heard of Verde. Verde stands for Building for Ecologically Responsive Design Excellence, and it is a tool to assess, measure, monitor, and certify the performance of green building projects above and beyond existing national and local building and environmental laws, regulations, and mandatory standards. So again, this is about your excellent performance. This is about recognition. So again, it is for you to display and let the public know that your project is a better performing project. Verde is recognized by the Philippine government through the Department of Energy as the National Voluntary Green Building Rating System. Yes, this is not mandated all throughout the country. It is through the effort of the project owner, developer, and the proponents. The PhilGBC is continuously improving Verde Green Building Rating System based on current best practices and technologies, changes in regulatory requirements, improvements in industry standards, and the experience and insight gained in the use of Verde in green building projects. Currently, we have two rating schemes under Verde. We have Verde Buildings, which applies to the sustainability performance of the design, construction, and operations of buildings and tenant spaces. So those who are interested, even if you are only leasing a space, you can still undergo certification. And also we have Verde Districts. This applies to the sustainability performance of the planning and implementation of communities and campuses. So this is a larger scale of projects and development. The latest version of Verde Buildings, which is version 5.0.0, is to be launched. Now I'm giving you advance information. It is to be launched in September during the annual conference of the PhilGBC Building Green 2024. I hope you'll find time and check out our information on social media about the dates, and we would really love to have you as delegates and partners for the conference. For Verde Districts, this focuses on the planning and implementation of communities and campuses, and for the purposes of this tool, a Verde District project must have a distinct and clear boundary of influence, a defined governing body which has the authority and influence to implement the policies, the action plans and programs, and the accountability in managing the activities to meet the sustainability goals and performance for the whole district. We have here the core framework for Verde, and this was developed to incorporate sustainable development through a holistic approach. The framework addresses the environmental, social, and economic aspects of both Verde Buildings and Verde Districts, which are aligned to ensure that the contributions of green buildings projects located within the district works in alignment with your overall sustainability goals and performance targets. So just imagine, you have a Verde building inside a Verde district. So if we can move forward in doing all developments in such a manner, I believe what we experienced last week about the flooding can also be addressed. And if you notice here, there's also transportation. There's really a lot going on when you go for certification for your project. All aspects are considered. So this is actually knowing the strengths of your project and how you can contribute in the overall impact, not only for the benefit of the project alone in that particular area, but up to the end users and the community. To be certified under Verde, you must comply with the minimum system requirements. And just a reminder, you cannot jump into going to certification process without first complying with all what the government is asking us. So first, mandatory standards, laws, and regulations. You need to successfully complete the formal assessment and certification process and achieve at least the minimum rating for certification. We do not have We do not have what we say certified verde. No, it is always equivalent with a star rating. So in order for you to be considered certified, you must at least have verde 1-star rating. And this, you will see here that as the number of percentage targets increases, the number of stars increases as well. So the highest rating would be 5 stars, and it is considered a world-class recognition for your project. So when you go for verde, aim for the highest number of stars. And as mentioned earlier, you may access the tool both for buildings and for districts at verdeonline.org. I will be leaving all this information later so you can access this. So we now move on to another tool, which is the Advancing Net Zero Philippines. This aims to transform the built environment by reducing resource consumption and emissions and shifting towards more sustainable sources to keep projects' impacts at neutral or even provide positive benefits. So you will see here on our screen, what is the first step that is required for you to move forward in advancing net zero energy. The focus for this one is only energy. We are yet to go into the total emissions. But for this one, for the country, what we're doing is looking at the energy performance of your buildings. So first, to conserve, if you can combine all efforts that are passive, yes, there are impacts, there are positive results when you first go passive design. And then, if you want to optimize and go to the next level of your energy reduction, then you can use energy efficient technologies and strategies. And lastly, we encourage projects to renew, meaning to use renewable energy. This is to reduce the overall operational energy demand of your project. Net zero energy is the conservation and optimization of the energy used in projects and the use of RE for the project's remaining operational energy demand. So it is the same with the number of stars, but has a different thresholds in terms, since this is again for the performance of energy of your project. And again, also available online. So if you want to make use of this as a guidance tool, you can access Advancing Net Zero Philippines through anzph.org. And we now move on to health and well-being. And I know this will really interest you because all of us, we want a healthy living every day, not only for a specific period of our life, but yes, we need to really focus on our health. And believe it or not, there is a connection between projects or buildings or developments and the health and well-being of end users. Recognizing the impact of buildings to users' health and well-being, the PhilGBC developed and recently launched the PhilGBC Health and Well-being for Buildings rating tool. It was developed to measure, monitor, and certify the performance of projects based on social, economic, and environmental priorities that affect the health and well-being of users. So for the focus of this tool, this is on the intervention of projects and its impact to the project team, to your employees, and your project end users. We have health, environment, comfort, social, and lifestyle. This is the core framework of the health and well-being for buildings tool, which defines the different objectives and requirements that are essential when developing a healthy and well building project. I would like to just to make mention, within the health and well-being rating tool, do you know that even the simple provision of drinking water in your project, which is accessible to everyone, actually contributes to the health and well-being of the end users. So there is a lot, but just imagine the mere fact that you're providing drinking water would actually help, as well as providing or locating your projects wherein there is access to fresh produce that is also part of health and well-being. So the same rating process applies for health and well-being. Projects may be awarded with the equivalent rating based on the weighting achieved through the assessment process. So again, 1 star is good practice, 2 star is ideal performance, 3 stars is exemplar performance, 4 stars, this means that your project is a country leader, and lastly, 5 stars, again, world-class recognition. And you may access the latest version of the PhilGBC Health and Wellbeing for Buildings at healthph.org. So for those who are interested for certification of the following tools, again, access this online, and then you can find the forms for that you need to fill up for your application. You may access BERDE, Advancing Net Zero Philippines, PhilGBC Health and Wellbeing, and Green Building PH, including the detailed user's guide for all certification tools online. Also, I would like to make mention, also available, this is not a rating tool, the Green Building PH. This is actually a listing of green building services and products that you may want to check out, especially if you are now thinking that your current project now, you would want now to transform into a green building project. It is not yet too late, especially if you're in the early design stage, or at least before the construction of the project. So on our screen is the registration process. To register your project, you will need to complete the forms and then submit the documents and have an agreement about the certification process for your project. We at PhilGBC believe that the way to move forward for every project that is being designed, constructed, operated, and maintained is to include certification tools to help you measure projects' performance while addressing the environment, social, and economic impacts. Green building certification programs support your project to its full performance potential, and in return, your project contributes in the market transformation, and as a whole, we consciously achieve a sustainable built environment. Thank you very much, and we look forward to welcome you and assist you in your green building certification journey. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, PhilGBC Vice Chairman Rowena, for your energy-filled presentation that actually encourages stakeholders to aim for the stars. We'll be inviting you later on for our fireside chat after our next 2 speakers. Now, our second speaker is an architect that specializes in residential, commercial, and interior projects. Now, as an active member of the United Architects of the Philippines, she has been a Makati CBD Chapter President, Regional District B3 Director, and Commission on Internal Affairs Executive Director. Now, she is currently the Chief of Staff of the UAP National President. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vanessa Ledesma.
So, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed colleagues and distinguished guests, good morning. I would like to first thank Manila Times for this invitation, especially those at our table, at my table, Colonel Klink, from the Chairman and CEO of Manila Times, the President and COO of Manila Times, Blanca, of course, my colleague in the architecture profession, Rowena, from PhilGBC, Red from the Philippine Real Estate Association, of course, Anne, / Bubbles, from Taidu, and I think Rhoda from Manila Times also, no, Sales and Marketing, and our other speaker, Rowena, another Rowena from International Workplace Group. No, so thank you so much for this invitation and good morning. Okay, so we are here. Sorry, can I? Thank you. Okay, so we are here to discuss the future of the property and building industries and how we can reinforce, boost, and advance those critical sectors in the face of evolving challenges and opportunities. So the COVID-19 pandemic has permanently altered our work habits with a significant shift towards working from home, no? This change impacts real estate demand, particularly in commercial spaces. Additionally, we are facing rising costs across the board. Material costs have surged, and development and labor costs continue to climb. These factors put pressure on developers and builders requiring innovative solutions to maintain profitability and project feasibility. However, despite the challenges, the property and building industries are currently witnessing significant trends that are shaping the way we design and construct our built environments. One of the most important trends is the rise of smart buildings. Smart buildings offer enhanced security, energy efficiency, and convenience through the integration of advanced technologies. Digitalization is another key trend, transforming everything from design processes to construction management. So this digital shift is enabling more precise planning, reducing errors, and increasing overall efficiency. Another trend that is reshaping the real estate industry is the rise of the digital nomads. With more people working remotely, there's an increased demand for flexibility or flexible living and working spaces. Developments that cater to this demographic can reduce operational expenses and attract a growing market segment. With these trends, there are also substantial opportunities for those with the foresight and resources to invest now. Developing properties while material costs are still relatively low can lead to significant returns as property values continue to rise. The principle of time is money has never been more relevant, and the current market conditions present a prime opportunity for investment. To capitalize on these opportunities, we must step up our infrastructure investments. Enhancing infrastructure can boost occupancy rates and hike real estate values, making properties more attractive to potential buyers and investors. Real estate development is also influenced by the approaches taken by developers. So while some developers prefer replication of successful models, others are innovative risk takers who push the boundaries of design and functionality. This diversity in development strategies contributes to a dynamic and evolving industry landscape. Now, what is the role of architects in all of this? Architects play a pivotal role in this dynamic process. For one, sustainability is a crucial aspect. Embracing smart and green building practices, as mentioned a while ago by Rowena, from PhilGBC. And of course, we have the eco-friendly materials, which not only benefits the environment, but also leads to cost efficiency. As experts in material specifications, including eco-friendly options, architects can help clients save on costs and maximize profits. Adhering to certification standards, such as LEED and WELL, can also add value to properties, and as well with BERDE. Now, these certifications assure buyers and investors of the quality and sustainability of a building, further enhancing its appeal. Another important role we architects play is through our unique designs, efficient and logical space planning, and innovative approaches that determine the aesthetic and functional value of real estate. We study the challenges and trends that I mentioned earlier, and we produce solutions such as assessing and designing for digital nomads. We create stories through our buildings, transforming them into status symbols and significantly enhancing their market value. Without the creative inputs of architects, real estate would lack the distinctive qualities that make properties desirable and valuable. Let me also mention the trending MMDA supposed PWD ramp. Although the BP 344 is an existing law, very few actually follow it. But with this picture on the upper right, that did the rounds on social media and even being featured in the news, stakeholders now took notice. As you see, Pinoys are really fast in making memes, and hence the water slide. So that is an additional feature that a developer can include, which can increase value and entice a certain market like seniors and PWD. And yet another role that architects who are trained to implement the BP 344 or the Batasang Pambansa 344 can design for. Right now, the property and building industries are at a crossroads, facing both challenges and opportunities. By embracing innovation, sustainability, strategic investments, and the design or expertise of architects, we can reinforce these sectors to pave the way for a prosperous future. Let us continue to collaborate, innovate, and invest wisely. Together, we can shape a resilient and thriving industry that not only meets the demands of today, but also anticipates the needs of tomorrow. Ultimately, more investments by developers, boosting infrastructure investments, and increased buyers lead to more projects for us architects. So that's it, actually. Thank you, and we look forward to working with all of you to achieve our shared goals. Thank you, and good morning.
We will be inviting you again. We have one more speaker before we have our fireside chat. And with that, our third speaker assumed the role of Global Finance Director at the International Workplace Group, or IWG Global Service Center, providing crucial commercial decision support to C-level executives across about 120 countries. Now, under her leadership, IWG's network of branded business centers in the Philippines has grown from about 23 to over 40 centers, including, or actually excluding 14 partner-committed sites. So there's actually more, and it's all growing given the trends that the market is undergoing right now. So as an officially designated trainer for this region, she has emerged as one of the top 3 growth leaders across the Asia-Pacific, the Middle East, and Africa. She currently heads IWG's Philippine Partnership, driving growth and expanding global footprint. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rowena Natividad.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you. We're very pleased to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Dante, Bianca, and the rest of Manila Times. And to our esteemed other speakers who are seated with me by the table, happy to be here. So I'm actually speaking on behalf of our country manager who is unable to join today, so because he's very excited to wait for the birth of his grandchild. So let's give him the opportunity. All right, so I'll be presenting about how do we reinvent the real estate industry. Okay, sorry about that. So my first slide will talk about the speed of change. So here, this is actually very interesting. As you know, most of the top 500 Fortune companies who we have known for the past years are no longer existing. So just taking into account the more recent, relevant experience from us would be that of the pandemic. So there's a lot of global companies who actually downsized their operations. They scaled down, and others unfortunately had to close down business. So I would describe the speed of change more of like a vortex. So it's a continuing rapid change, and the world is evolving very fast. And it's upon us to try to reinvent and re-engineer what we have. All right, so we all can relate to this, the biggest flexible working experiment in the history. Back in 2020, we've all been placed into a global working remote experiment. So all of us were asked to work from home. So that's actually the first for majority of us. And we were able to establish actually that working from home, not within the confines of the office, we can actually deliver results to our respective companies. And so you may have heard from the news that a lot of employees have actually refused to go back to the office because they know they can actually deliver results even if they're not within the confines of the office. But then the work from home may not work for all. You know how it is in the Philippines, like in terms of one family, I would say it's multi-generational. So maybe minimum of 2 families there. And then if you have small kids in your house, they wouldn't be able to distinguish why you're here, why you are at home. So they keep bugging you, right? Not to mention yung manok ng kapitbahay natin. So it's not very professional. And so that actually gave birth to what we call the third dimension of the hybrid working model, which is the work near home. So they would still want to be able to have that professional environment in which they can deliver work, but they don't want to take the long commute. Architect Vanessa did mention about a very good point about the value of time. And you know how it is in the Philippines. One way of commute may take us minimum 1 hour if you're lucky. So, but I would say 2 to 2.5 hours. So that's a lot of time wasted on commuting. And with people being able to work very near their home, we're actually able to save the most valued commodity, and that is time. All right, and if you ask any CEO or CFOs, or HR or employees, a lot of them, majority actually, over 90% would say they would want to be able to work hybrid. In fact, IWG conducted a survey, and prior to the pandemic, the top 1 priority or ask of employees would be that of the salary, of course. But now, they would ask for the benefit of being able to work hybrid. So that's being the top-notch demand of workers these days. For the CFO, it's kind of no-brainer because they don't have to spend huge amount of fitting out an entire floor for their office. So they can actually rent a particular space only that is very specific to their requirement. So that saves a lot of money from a cash flow perspective. And from the HR side, how difficult it is to retain talent these days because they move around a lot. And with hybrid work model, this HR can actually tap talents that would have not otherwise joined the company in the NCR because they're based out of NCR. So say, for example, an employee is based out of Bacolod and she's living comfortably there, wouldn't want to be relocated to NCR. But she's one of the best talent as so far the HR has assessed. So in the past, before the hybrid work model, they wouldn't be able to get that talent. But now that hybrid working is here, we're actually able to tap into a wider talent pool. And that's actually a lot of efficiency for the companies. And of course, for the employees, very obvious, we want to be able to spend more quality time with our family and personal stuff that we need to do. Hybrid workers, typical day would be first thing in the morning, they would exercise in the gym, and then they would check on emails, and then they would run some errands for the kids, and then go back to work and do some meetings and work. So that's a typical day for the hybrid workers. All right, so this is actually just, for the small companies. Even the large companies are actually latching on to hybrid working model. And why is that? It has become a part of their risk mitigation and risk management. So flashback to, the pandemic, everybody moved out of the office, and what you have there, it's a lot of idle spaces not being used. The company keeps on paying rent for those. And it has become very difficult to exit. Why? Because you get penalized with security deposits and all. So companies now are actually doing what we call the hub and spoke, in which they keep an office in a CBD, and the rest are actually satellite offices spread nationwide, bringing the workspaces very near their home. All right, so this looks weird, but anyway, so this actually shows that Standard Chartered actually acquired 80,000 memberships from IWG during the pandemic. Also, worth mentioning that NTT, the biggest telecommunication firms in Japan, but I think they're more than that. They're also doing asset management. Also acquired 300,000 memberships from us. What does that mean? So any holder of that card, named holder of that card, can actually access any of our locations nationwide. So we currently have 41. And not just that, it allows them access to our 4,000 locations globally. So that says a lot because, you know, Standard Chartered is a bank, and bank is very conscious about data privacy. So that means the infrastructure that we have in our centers are sufficient enough to support the privacy they require for their operations. Not in this slide is also Nestle. They also got memberships from us. So these are coming from diverse industries, not just particular industries. All right, so for this slide, so we're just saying that with the change, the speed of change that has been happening, the companies now are hiring more employees and right-sizing their conventional spaces. But I would actually term it as right-sizing or corporate downsizing. So they're actually looking at the balance between, you know, scaling down or finding the right size for the business and what is the office requirement that they need to match their specific needs. And we think that there won't be any building going forward that will be handed over without that element of flexibility. It's now becoming a must going forward. So just to put in more context to that, if the developer missed to put in put in the flexible workspace, they might as well have forgotten to put in elevator or parking. That's how relevant it's becoming. All buildings should have that element of flexibility. And with us, for IWG, we actually make any kind of space work. So be it a small building, a mid-sized building, a large building, we actually have business centers in other parts of the world that actually occupies the entire building, providing multiple branding, thereby capturing different market segments of the market. So, with this pandemic, you know, if you take a look at one building, how do you think about reinventing and re-engineering that? It's just a bunch of concrete, bunch of steels. But if you take a look at the statistics now, although it's improving, there's a lot of vacancies, particularly in the NCR, because of the shift to the hybrid working model. Now landlords or property owners are encouraged to reinvent, re-engineer what they currently have. So how do you reinvent a space made up of steel and concrete? You put in a flexible workspace. So it's more of like what we call the product development. So here's a good example. This is PNB, the former Allied Bank along Makati Avenue. This is almost a heritage building. I almost fell when I was doing the ocular of the side because it's so dim. There's a lot of blockage there. But we were able to actually reinvent that into a beautiful center. And that's no-brainer for us because it's ground zero. For Makati, it's right the heart of Ayala. It's within the bustling district of Makati. Beside that, there's a mall, there's a hotel, definitely a catchment area. So that center will launch in May. It's now almost 50% occupied. So that builds about a lot of credibility about the demand on flexible workspaces. And this one is very interesting. So this one is an Angeles Nipo Center owned by Rick Wilkerson, and that is a parking space. So Rick thought that, when with, the e-commerce, we now have a lot of unused parking spaces. Why don't we assess what's the best use of that space so that it doesn't sit idle in our portfolio? And so, of course, we recommended flexible workspace. And so presto, we have a flexible workspace made from a very bare parking slot. So that's actually very good thinking from the perspective of Rick Wilkerson in order for him to reinvent, re-engineer, and make some money out of the idle space. All right, so we're also present in various locations, like various type of buildings. So we have spaces in World Plaza. We are in a hotel in Ascot, Makati, also in Join Stolz and Marco Polo. It's a good combination of, the hospitality, the warmth of a hotel, plus the professional environment that the workspaces is offering. So that's the parking depot center. We're also in a mall. We're also in residences. Residences makes a lot of sense because you all already have the catchment area there. So the residents are actually using the spaces. And just put in more information about IWG. These are some of the top 500 Fortune companies that are using our office anywhere else in the world at any point of time. So what's good with IWG is if a company would like to be able to have presence in other parts of the world, they can easily do so with us. So we're present in multiple geographies. We speak multiple languages. So if you need a staff that speaks Spanish, so you can easily hire, get an office from Spain, we can give that to you within 2 hours. And just to provide some visibility on the how does a center looks like, so I'm sharing with you a video here. Okay. So this features some of our locations globally. We're present in 120 countries, and we have over 4,000 locations. We have multiple brands, over 30 brands globally. We have been acquiring our competitors. And in the Philippines, we carry 4 brands. So the Wing is actually a European brand we acquired during the pandemic. Okay, hold on. All right, and then some information about IWG again. So we have over 8 million members, and we have over 4,000 locations. And we're becoming, the world's #1 workspace provider. And here's a quote from Mr. Lars Wittig. So you always tell this whenever we meet with, key stakeholders. Says, it's no longer the big fish that eats the smaller fish. So it's the faster fish that eats the slower fish. So if you analyze that, with the example of, top 500 Fortune companies being non-existent or being irrelevant because they were unable to reinvent or re-engineer themselves. So in this era where the speed of change is, happening, one has to be able to re-engineer or reinvent whatever offering they have so they can survive and stay relevant in the market. So I hope to have provided you some good insights about the flexible workspaces. Thank you.
So we call on Miss Rowena, actually the 2 Rowenas, if we could ask you to find your seats here in front. And of course, we also invite Vanessa to join them as Ben fires away his questions.
Okay, hi. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I hope everyone can see us okay. As I understand it, there was a stage here at one point in the morning, but as we're in a not exactly modern building, they put some of us a little close to the ceiling, so we get down a little bit here.
Ben, if I may just mention that for those of you who are unaware, Ben is coming out with a book about commentating on nuclear energy. So it's titled Coaxing a Genie from a Soda Bottle. It'll be coming out soon, so we hope that you will be supporting his new publication.
Okay, and thank you for the shameless plug, DeFort. Okay, ladies, it was some interesting information that y'all shared with us, and as I was listening to your talks, I found a lot of I found a lot of places where your paths may cross, and so I want to kind of ask you a few things about that. But as far as the green certification, a couple of questions that came to mind immediately, because this is a topic that I've explored over the years. I mean, this is not anything that's real new. I think that as time goes on, people are concentrating on it more. Do you know, or can you give us a sense, what is the premium for a green certification or a green building versus one somebody puts up a modern office project, say, or somebody puts up a green building? What's the difference in value?
Thank you for that question. A few years back, in one of our membership meetings at the council, there was really that exact question: is green building more expensive than a conventional building? Mm-hmm. So that question was thrown, and on the part of the developer and the contractor, this is the answer. There is no exact amount that would say that green buildings are more expensive. And the straight answer to that is that it is still based on the design, meaning it does not translate that when you go for green building, it is more expensive. Mm-hmm. So for the value, it has more value in terms of performance as compared to the conventional way of how we design, construct, and operate buildings. So for one, years back, the very first brave developers who went into green building certification for Verde, this was their experience. Even during the time that it is being constructed, but with the seal that the project is Verde registered, then there was already a sure sale based on tenant space. So even prior to the completion of the building, they were able to declare that the building is already fully tenanted in terms of contracts. So then there goes on the peso value and then the real value of a green building.
Okay, so it's a matter of it. I mean, you're really tapping a demand, if you go this route. So if I'm a developer and I say, look, what's in it for me to go through this process? That's one answer is, hey, I'll be guaranteed to sell out my building.
That's
or
on
probably guaranteed.
That's on the marketing angle.
Yeah.
But on the performance and way forward, in terms of operations, you have a lot of savings in terms of operations.
Okay, when projects, when developers are planning projects, or they're planning projects in the in the context of, hey, we're going to get the Verde certification, what do they prioritize the most, among the different, the different aspects, that count? What's the first thing that they want to try to improve?
On that note, it is always a welcome idea if the project is already conceptualized to undergo the certification, the BEDE certification. It really helps a lot, having it from the very start. What are the drivers? For consideration, first you really need to think about your project team. You need to have the right members for the project team, because it will not be, the project won't be delivered as you would want it if you don't have qualified and competent professionals. And then the stakeholders' communication is very important. Next would be the location of the project. That would be part of the consideration because it also ties up with the transportation. And then, as any other project would go, energy is one of the highest consideration, and then water, and then material, how you manage materials as well as waste management.
Okay. Now here's where one path crosses. One thing that you do, and you showed some good examples of it, is converting spaces, to be useful for your working spaces.
Right.
I think we had a little conversation about that earlier. How much opportunity do you do, or what can you do to take, like, for instance, a parking structure, or our old building in Intramuros? What can you do to make some kind of sustainable space out of a conversion? And I think that also applies to existing projects, that want to improve them. Where do you start, and how much can you do?
Yeah. Well, actually, for IWG, we're proud to say that all our workspaces are carbon neutral. So we're actually an advocate of the ESG, sustainability, and responsibility. So for new flexible workspaces and existing ones that we ensure that we are compliant to that. With the digital disruption along with the pandemic, enabling this, changing our attitudes as to how and where we want to work. So companies now hinges on flexibility, mobility, and most importantly, well-being of the employees. So, a space with a good air circulation, or just a deck there where they can actually spend some time to just, breathe some natural air. So that helps a lot for our business.
Okay. Now, mentioned and I only caught my attention because I actually went and saw this thing, but you mentioned the ramp, the water slide, and that brought up a question. Isn't the BP 344 mandatory? I mean, you design a building and you must have proper access, that meets some codes, and why is that not? I mean, why does that seem like such a feature, rather than an included part of some designs, even in newer buildings. I live in a building that's about 10 years old, and it kind of has some PWE access, but it's not great. So how do you fix that?
With regard to first, your question on why it is not, it is a law, yes, it's an existing law. Why is it not being followed? How many laws in the Philippines are being followed? It's a matter of implementation and really policing the law. As I mentioned, there are certain laws here that we don't really follow or implement. They find it. I wish, as you mentioned, that it should be the norm rather than a feature, a special feature. It should be the norm. And we have been trying to push for this. The United Architects of the Philippines, as an organization, has been trying to push for this law. We do a lot of voluntary auditing in buildings, and actually, the good thing is that a lot of cities actually have gotten our services, free services. We volunteer to do it, to actually audit their buildings, even the city halls of their cities, and then we give advice on how to fix it. Of course, it becomes a little bit expensive because, for example, if they have like 10 steps going up to their city hall, then you've got to have a whole ramp to fix it, you know, and you have to tear down something to be able to build that ramp or spend for an elevator or a wheelchair elevator. And that becomes a little bit more expensive than they thought. And so our advice just is put on the back seat or put under a lot of tons of paper, unfortunately and sadly. How do we fix it? We keep pushing. We keep pushing. We keep volunteering our services to give advice, to audit them for free, and hopefully, someday they see the value. Actually, unfortunately, some of them see the value only when they become PWDs themselves, or when they become seniors and they will need a cane or they will need a wheelchair. Then they see the value of what they should have done many years ago. Sadly, but that's the way it is. And with regard to the MMDA ramp, because of the backlash, major backlash that they got, they're now renovating it. I don't know how, but they're renovating it. Maybe they will just get an expensive wheelchair elevator. It's expensive, but it's the law.
Well, that whole structure, that access, the whole thing is designed stupid. I mean, I don't. If you have to, you need the ramp to go up to, you know, the level that the elevator doesn't go all the way to the ground, for one thing. You know, obviously it wasn't one of your people that had anything to do with that, because the whole thing is nuts. But that brings me to another question. These kinds of issues with anything, you know, building project or a piece of infrastructure or whatnot, as well as, you know, standards of green certification that should be worked in designs. It seems to me that the gatekeeper for those kind of things, I mean, you can advise your architects all you want to, you know, design properly. You know, you can advise developers of what they need to do, but it seems the gatekeeper for these is the person in the municipal hall that signs the building permit. So how do you get that level to integrate these things that you really need, you know, in new construction? You know, does Congress have to, you know, intervene? You know, which of course makes another law that may not get enforced, but, you know, is that something that might be helpful?
With regard to the architecture profession, we actually are encouraging architects to be in the city hall. There are there are building officials in every city hall, and we have been encouraging, pushing, and visiting and promoting our profession so that they will get architects as building officials. And with architects as building officials or in the city hall, we can try to push more and implement the laws, the different kinds of laws, not just the BP 344, but also the National Building Code in general. But again, because, well, without the architects there, well, then it falls on people who will just maybe just look at it briefly, or maybe approve it for something in return. You know what that is. So But that is why we're pushing for architects as building officials, or at least in major positions in the city hall. That's how we're doing it right now. And we've been going around every time we have events. We talk to mayors, we talk to senators, we talk to congressmen, and we push and promote our profession, so that we can we can have someone there. We can have someone in the inside to push for what is right in terms of design, in terms of the law, in terms of what should be, so that they don't build ramps that are vertical, and there are many of that, and even in workplaces where a lot of seniors are, there are no ramps. And by the way, when I was talking about the elevator, I'm talking about elevator from ground to the lobby. These are wheelchair elevators that some malls have.
Yeah, the building next to mine, the that I don't live in, it has one of those, which is very handy for. I'm certainly not disabled, but it's very handy if I go to the grocery store, wheel my cart onto it, and go down about a foot. So it doesn't seem like that big a deal. If you could explain the avoided costs of not having one to these people, and that's a tough sell, I know, but that's what it comes down to.
Give you an example of finances with that. We're rebuilding our UAP headquarters in itself. We do have an elevator that comes from the basement all the way to any floor for any PWD. But we are constantly trying to improve, therefore we're trying to do it from the lobby as well. From not the lobby, but the ground. And we have already checked the quotations for a ramp and a wheelchair elevator. So the ramp, although circuitous because of the height, we do not want an MMDA ramp, this will cost us about 250,000, which is okay. The elevator ramp will cost us 1.6 million. So that's a difference in finance, but it is the law. We are the United Architects of the Philippines headquarters, and we want to be the gold standard in implementing the law, the BP 344. And for real estate developers, as I mentioned earlier, it is we wish it were the norm, but it is a feature that can help sell your developments as well, or their developments as well. That that then they can get a niche market, maybe for PWD or seniors, right?
Yeah, a lot of seniors have a lot of money. I mean, hey, get them to buy your units. I have the curious question. If there's a simple answer to it, I don't know. How much does that global pass cost?
All right, so that actually varies per brand and per location, but typically it's around 6,000 to 7,000 pesos per month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other question that I thought of right early in your presentation, the government's policy, the economic policy, is still, although it is no longer actively discouraging hybrid work or work for home as it was at one time, it's not really supportive of it. I think they kind of, they kind of just put that idea aside, and they, would it help, or does it, or is the market going on, despite whatever the government thinks of it? Or, let me put it another way, if the government were to come out and say, look, okay, we realize this is a problem, this is a solution to a lot of our traffic problems and pollution problems and well-being problems, so everybody have hybrid work or work from home as much as you can. We're encouraging that. We'll give you incentives to do that. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Is there enough room for that? to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So with flexible workspace, I did mention about, a lot of these workers going out of the CBD areas when, there was a time when the government actually mandated for all employees to go back to the office. But with hybrid working, we're actually bringing these workspaces outside of the CBD. And this actually is helping to boost the local economy. So in terms of the economic aspect to it, we're actually supporting the government in terms of their drive to beef up on local economies by decentralizing the workforce in the CBD area. And just, I saw a slide earlier, I think it was your slide. There was a mention about Lima technology and Lipa. That's yours. So that's actually what we call in the flexible workspace parlance as a 15-minute city. 15-minute city is actually a concept, the brainchild of which is Carlos Moreno. So he's an academe from Italy or France. The idea is one person should be able to reach essential amenities within 15 minutes of walk or bike. So that is complementing a lot in terms of the well-being of the employee, the burden requirements, and so helping also the local economy retain the salaries of their employees and spend it within the economy, the local ones.
In,
I had-
rela-
this
in
is-
relation to that, actually, the 15-minute
City.
the 15-minute city within within the Verde certification, there is actually a credit under transportation wherein your location must have at least 10 distinct key establishments which are within proximity of your project location.
That was a question I was going to ask if that, because we hear that a lot. My partner is a city planner by training, so I know what that means. This is a rare occasion when I've actually covered most of the questions I've written down as you were speaking. But I have two more quick ones. You mentioned on a couple of your slides that there are some jurisdictions where the Bear Day is mandated, and that it may be mandated higher than the minimum. Where are those? Can you give us some examples? Because these seem like they may be progressive places.
Yeah. So currently, the PhilGBC programs for certification are actually established as voluntary rating tools. But in terms of who have adopted them in full, we can say that it is Mandaue City in Cebu, wherein they are actually implementing it as part of their Green Building Ordinance. So there are certain units within Mandaue that they must at least have a minimum star rating of 1 star for their project. This is for the new construction. So this is the way they are moving forward. And it actually started because of their transportation problems. So it was one of the drivers for the city to fully adopt Verde.
Okay, I should probably go talk to them. I haven't been to Cebu in a while. And just one other quick question. You did mention that there is a new version 5.0 that's going to be introduced soon. And can you share, any of the changes that are going to be, is there anything really, really significant that is going to change in the new version?
So the focus now is more on circularity. So that is the way moving forward. But still, the basis is still on the socio-economic and the environment. But in terms of credits, there would be other distributions, more focus on other items, especially on materials. But the rest remains. But with Verde being the responsive rating tool for the country, there is also focus on the promotion of Filipino heritage as part of the design. So it is also incorporated there. Health and well-being is also within Verde, but there is also the separate rating tool focusing on health and well-being alone. So looking at all this core framework, we can say that moving forward with version 5.0.0, there is also the insights of the Verde users before of those completed projects. So development of Verde as a rating tool is not stagnant. There will always be changes. There will always be improvements. And again, it will always be towards excellence. So we always say that our mandatory standards will always be the minimum. But over and above it is going for the Verde certification.
Okay. Does anybody have any last thoughts that they want to share before we take a break for lunch, I think? And to start with you, since you
I would like to invite everyone to really think about how you would be moving forward for your next projects. And this is not only for new construction, but also let's take a look at our existing buildings, because this is the chunk of the big stock that we really need to address. There is a component within Verde wherein you can address the operations of your building. So you can go for Verde for operations. And if we look at how many square meters in terms of area those buildings are, we really would be making a huge dent if we start talking about these existing buildings. So just like how you are actually doing redesigning and reuse of these spaces, it will actually make an impact overall. So for the real estate industry, for the building industry, it is not now an option to just consider going for sustainability. It must already be part of your decision making, of your business planning at the very start. Thank you.
okay?
Yeah, sure. So, the office as we know it have changed. And, the office is now not defined by this physical space. It's now within digital. Our data anyway are actually stored in cloud. So with IWG, we provide a lot of flexibility. And as you know, anything that is flexible is dynamic. And anything that is dynamic provides more solutions. So with flexible workspace, it's becoming a part of the company culture, providing risk mitigation and risk management. So for our property owners here who may be interested to, reinvent their idle spaces, please feel free to approach me or Sheila. And for employees here or company owners who may want to avail of this flexible workspace, feel free to reach out to me also. I have here with me our city manager seated by that table, our lovely Angel and Wisdom.
For the architecture industry, for all the building industries here, the real estate industries, for every single individual here, our message from the UAP is very simple. For all your plans and designs, please get an architect. Because sa arkitekto, sigurado. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks to everybody.
And that concludes our first fireside chat for today. Please remain in place as we invite the Manila Times Chairman and CEO, Sir Klink, and the Manila Times President and CEO, Ms. Blanca, to share with you our tokens of appreciation. On behalf of the Manila Times, Sir Klink and Ms. Blanca hope that these tokens of appreciation, these certificates, express in a small way how we are very grateful for the wisdom that you shared with us today. So thank you, Philippine Green Building Council Vice Chairman Ramos, UAAP Chief of Staff Ledesma, and IWG Partnership Growth Head Nadivitan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the fourth talk of the day. Welcome back to the Manila Times Real Estate Forum 2024, titled Reinforcing the Property and Building Industries. Our speaker for this afternoon has 26 years of experience with the Villar Group, where he has played a key role in the success of various Vista Land and Golden MV Holdings subsidiaries, including Crown Asia, Vista Residence, and Golden Haven Memorial Parks. Now, as President and Chief Operating Officer of Bria Homes for 6 years, he has transformed it into one of the fastest growing mass housing developments in the country. He is currently the National Real Estate Association, or NREA, National President. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's sit back and listen to National Real Estate Association National President Red Rosales.
I would like to make mention, to give a special thanks to the big bosses of the Manila Times, si Sir Dante Ang, who's the CEO and the chairman of Manila Times, Ms. Blanca Mercado, the president and COO. Maraming pong salamat. On behalf of the National Real Estate Association, or NREA, the Philippines' largest umbrella organizations for real estate professionals, I want to express again our gratitude to the Manila Times for inviting us to this important forum. The theme reinforcing the property and building industries resonates deeply with us at NREA. At the NREA, we understand the critical role these sectors play in shaping the Philippine future. They are not just engines of economic growth, but also architects of a better quality of life for our citizens. The property and building sectors are the backbone of our nation's progress. They employ millions, drive economic growth, and shape our communities. From visionary developers and meticulous planners to skilled construction workers, hard-working brokers and salespersons, and dedicated property managers, these industries are a true engine of prosperity. However, challenges persist. The current housing crisis, with its massive backlog, demands a renewed approach. While the government plays a crucial role, it cannot shoulder this burden alone. The key to reinforcing our industries lies in collaboration and innovation. Today, the first question that comes to my mind is, how does NREA, or the private real estate sector for that matter, contribute in reinforcing the property and building industries? Let me enumerate a few. The Philippine real estate landscape is brimming with potential. Our young population fuels demand, a robust economy attracts investment, and the government's commitment to infrastructure development unlocks exciting opportunities. However, to truly thrive, we must foster collaboration. The National Real Estate Association is deeply invested in promoting collaborative spirit, one that unites developers, investors, policymakers, and stakeholders in a shared vision for the future. The NREA, established in 1991, is a proud umbrella organization representing a diverse range of real estate professionals, from developers and planners to consultants, appraisers, brokers, and countless others. We are united force driving industry growth and professionalism. Through accredited training programs and close collaboration with government agencies like the Department of Human Settlement and Urban Development, or DSUD, Professional Regulatory Commission, or PRC, and Professional Regulatory Board for Real Estate Services, or PRBRES. We actively contribute to professionalizing the real estate sector, ensuring ethical practices and a skilled workforce. The success of our sector hinges on a strong foundation, strategic investment. Imagine a Philippines crisscrossed with efficient transportation networks, boasting reliable utilities, and powered by sustainable energy sources. This is not a distant dream, but a future we can achieve through collaboration. Improved connectivity unlocks new development possibilities. Reliable utilities enhance property value, and sustainable energy infrastructure fosters long-term cost savings and environmental responsibility. By prioritizing these investments, we not only build a more resilient future for our industries, but also contribute to a more livable and sustainable Philippines. The property and building industries are a complex ecosystems. Their success hinges on a strong foundation built through collaboration in strategic investment. NREA has been a long-standing partner with the SUD, actively promoting housing initiatives and receiving recognition for our contributions. We recently entered a joint agreement with the SUD and the Department of Interior and Local Government, or DILG, to bolster the implementation of the flagship housing program of this government, the Pambansang Pabahay para sa mga Pilipino, or the 4PH. Furthermore, we commissioned industry studies that inform our advocacy efforts. For instance, we successfully argued for the continued inclusion of mass housing within the government's Strategic Investment Priorities Plan. This collaboration ensures that essential housing programs receive the support they deserve. Under the Constitution, NREA, together with the private sector, has a cooperative mandate in housing, complementing the government's primary role. In its declaration of policy, the Constitution provided, and I quote, "The state shall, pursuant to Section 9, Article 13 of the Constitution, ensure that underprivileged and homeless citizens should have access to an adequate, safe, secure, habitable, sustainable, resilient, and affordable home. The state, by law, and for the common good, shall undertake, in cooperation with the private sector, a continuing program of housing and urban development," end of quote. Please note, my friends, the word cooperative role of the private sector. The private sector is a cornerstone of a thriving property and building industries. NREA members, including developers and professionals, are the engines of value creation. They translate vision into reality, shaping skylines and communities that define our nation. Beyond traditional practices, NREA actively promotes innovation. We are a founding member of the PropTech Consortium, championing the adoption of new technologies to streamline processes and enhance efficiency. We also participated in multi-sectoral initiatives such as the digitalization of Pag-ibig Fund's housing loan processing system, impacting thousands of Filipinos seeking home ownership. The latter, by the way, accounts to up to 40% of housing finance in the country. It is self-evident that presently the government is saddled with fiscal program priority, including political constraints. And despite the state's primary mandate in housing provision by itself, it cannot cope adequately with the demands on the property and construction industries. For example, the current housing crisis and the massive accumulated housing deficit is an indicator of this dilemma. By the way, it was the Housing and Urban Development Committee of the House of Representatives which had the courage to recognize and declare sometime in 2021 the so-called housing crisis. Because of these constraints, the government was unable or inadequate to sufficiently address the housing situation. To compensate, the government housing sector had to adopt the strategy of leveraging the private sector. Aside from carrot and stick policies of the government, it felt it had also to intervene in affecting the supply and demands dynamics of the property and building industries. One is through legal fiat. In 1992, the landmark law, Republic Act 7279, was enacted and further amended. In effect, no private property developer can do housing projects. This is unless they set aside 20% originally, which is now 15% of the project cost, or of total housing units for socialized housing. This is for subdivision or horizontal projects. And later, condominium projects were also mandated to set aside 5% of housing units or of the project cost to socialized housing. Another housing market intervention by the government is setting up the housing price ceiling, especially for socialized and economic housing. This is meant to benefit low-income earners. However, many in the industry see these interventions as having a distortion effect to the housing market. Also, many in the industry consider these market interventions as having contributed to the dampening, particularly of the supply side of the housing market. Further, these were suspected as contributory to the accumulation of the current housing deficit pegged at 6.5 million housing units as of today. While these efforts aim to address affordability, they can also impact supply dynamics. Thus, NREA advocates for a strategic recalibration. To truly reinforce the property and building industries, we propose a collaborative approach with the following key elements. First, stronger public housing initiatives. We believe a strategy similar to Singapore's successful public housing programs could significantly reduce the housing deficit. This would free the private sector to focus on economic and open market housing, catering to a wider range of market needs. Second, regulatory and incentive program. Achieving ambitious 1 million housing target per year under the 4PH program necessitates a reevaluation of existing regulations and incentives. Streamlining processes and offering targeted support can significantly boost private sector participation. Third, increase funding for housing. Meager budgetary allocations have hampered government housing initiatives. Increased funding would enable agencies like DSUD to deliver on their mandates and support vital projects. And finally, strengthening public-private partnerships. The NREA, along with other industry players, is pushing for a set of policy proposals that create a robust private sector partnership program within the 4PH. This collaborative approach can unlock resources and expertise. In conclusion, the Philippines faces a significant housing challenge and by extension, a challenge in the property and building industries. However, we are not daunted. By embracing innovative solutions, fostering a spirit of collaboration, and rethinking traditional approaches, we can overcome these hurdles. We need to move beyond business as usual and embrace a game-changing strategy. Together, let us not just reinforce the property and building sectors, but reinvent them for a future where every Filipino has access to a safe, secure, and affordable home. Thank you at magandang umagang muli sa ating lahat.
Thank you, Andrea, National President Red, for proposing game-changing strategies. We will be inviting you again for our second fireside chat after our fifth and final speaker for the day. Now, for this afternoon, our speaker has 26 years of experience. Well, actually, I think there's a whole lot of information that we can say about our speaker. But in terms of handling or coordination discussions with proponents interested in the developmental loan for the 4PH program of Pag-ibig Fund, this is the person that is in charge of this particular field of expertise. Her team also handles the Countryside Housing Initiative and a strategy of Pag-ibig Fund to encourage more institutions to go into housing requirement of their target beneficiaries. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Jacqueline Constantino.
Allow me please to read the message of my CEO, which is about 100 pages. Joke. Hopefully it's not. I didn't count it though. It is my pleasure to be here with you today on behalf of our Chief Executive Officer, Manang. We call her Manang. Manang Marilyn C. Acosta. Thank you for inviting Pag-ibig Fund to your Real Estate and Construction Forum. Allow me please to congratulate and express our gratitude to the Manila Times for continuously providing support, not just to Pag-ibig Fund, but to the housing industry as well. They have been our ally, not just in providing news and stories about Pag-ibig Fund, but also in including us in opportunities such as this forum. But before I really start with this 100 pages message, allow me please to first greet the big bosses. The other boss has left a while ago. So allow me please to say my hi to, good afternoon to Ma'am Blanca. Magandang hapon po. Also, of course, to Mr. Dafford Villaseran, who introduced me, and columnist Mr. Ben Creets. Tama ba yung basa ko? Hindi ba ako babarilin dito nung pangalan, Mr. Ben? I also would like to acknowledge, of course, my co-speakers. National President, Sir Red, we were just together via Zoom. Via Zoom in the NRIA forum also, which was also by NRIA, a few hours ago, 10 o'clock. In fact, I was in the other room attending the forum while he was also there also supporting the forum. Philippine Green Building, Ms. Rowena Ramos. Good afternoon po. International Workforce Group, Ms. Rowena Natividad. Is she still here? And Philinvest Development Corporation President, I'm not sure if he's here, Ms. Rhoda Wang. Of course, Mr. Mars Mendoza, good afternoon. I'm sure Manang doesn't know you will be here, so you know we're not included in the speech. But of course, I know you, so good afternoon po to everyone. As the single largest source of funding in the home mortgage market, Pag-ibig Fund acknowledges its role as driver of progress and security through financial empowerment. By pursuing economic growth, fostering innovations, focusing on communities, and adapting to digitalization, we can provide access to safe and affordable housing where sustainability thrives. Now let me share with you what Pag-ibig Fund has been busy with for the first half of 2024 and the state of its home lending programs. Tama ba to? Okay. Sorry, wala to sa bundok. Okay po, so as you all know, Pag-ibig Fund has twin mandate, that of providing a secure, provident saving platform for Filipino workers who, through their membership and savings with Pag-ibig Fund, can have access to affordable home financing. To achieve these mandates, Pag-ibig Fund offers programs to its members from both the savings and shelter financing fronts. Over the years, our programs and services have evolved, providing our members and stakeholders with the most relevant and responsive product that will meet their needs. Okay, before I start po, I'd like to first emphasize on what Pag-ibig Fund is now. As of the moment, as of 2023 po, we have 15.93 active members. By active members, these are continuously paying members or saving members of Pag-ibig Fund. This does not include those who have been, who stopped saving or may have, migrated to somewhere else or maybe has for a while stopped saving. So ito po ay active lang talaga. And last year po, we have released 126.04 billion pesos of housing loaned to our 96,848 members. We also released or assisted 2.67 members and released short-term loan of amounting to 59.32 billion pesos. And last year po, we were able to recover or collect savings from our members amounting to 89.26 billion pesos. I'm sure all of you, hopefully all of you, are members of Pag-ibig Fund. Yes, you are all members. Good. And I proudly would like to report to all of you that we are almost a trillion peso company. So you should pat yourself and congratulate you are owners of a trillion company, which this was in 2023. So by now, I am sure that we are now trillionaires. We are now owners of a trillion company. And we declared a net income last year of 49.78 billion pesos. By law, we are mandated to declare 70% of the 49.79 million as dividend. Last year, we did not only declare 70% as dividend, we declared 97.93% as dividend. So all of you have received your dividend at the dividend rate of 6.55%. So I don't think any bank, I'm sure, I hope there's no bank here. If there is, well, it's really the truth. It's 6.55, and I'm sure the other agencies or the other institutional financing agencies cannot offer that much dividend. We call it dividend because our dividend is not taxable. It's free from tax. the institutional agencies could interest because it is taxable. In the case of Pag-ibig Fund, your dividend is not taxable. So we distributed 48.76 billion pesos last year at 6.55% for those who are just saving through our regular saving, the 200 and another 200 employer counterpart, but 7.05% to our very popular MP2. Naririnig ko ang MP2. Any of you here who are MP2 savers? Oh, diba? Thank you so much for supporting MP2. Yes. The year before that, we declared a 7.03% dividend for MP2. So as much as possible, we really take care of your fund because we are obligated and we are mandated to give it back to you. So medyo prudent, very prudent kami when it comes to the fund because we do not want to go below 6%. For the past years, the average rates have been 6%, at least 6%. There was a time we offered 8.03% before, yes, so high. So kaya I'm sure all the other partners, developers and other housing partners will understand why we are very strict and prudent when it comes to the fund. All right. For this year, as of for January to May 2024, we grew our membership with 16.24 million members actively saving in the fund. Collectively, our members have saved 53.28 billion pesos as of May. That is more than 60% of our collection last year. So majority of that, or more than half of that savers are MP2 savers. Our MP2 collection or savings exceeded the savings of the mandated savings of Pag-ibig Fund. We were able to release 48.67 billion pesos in terms of housing loan and for 34,225 housing loan borrowers. We also were able to release 29.49 billion to 1.26 million members. We also have recently opened our calamity loan for those who have been affected by the recent typhoon. So meron na po tayong calamity for those in NCR. And other areas areas have been declared as calamity areas. So our members can also avail of that calamity loan at a lower rate na po. Pag-ibig Fund takes pride in staunchly looking for means to improve its programs through innovation and the heart for service, consistent with its word, pag-ibig. In line with with what Pag-ibig truly stands for, pagtutulungan sa kinabukasan, ikaw, referring to our members, bangko, industriya at gobyerno. These accomplishments will only be made possible through collaborative, which has been emphasized by Sir Red, collaborative efforts and a collective vision of thriving. Our relationship with our partner developers stems from the mutual desire to serve our members and also the common objective to make the housing industry a strong and secure industry. After all, if the industry is strong, then Pag-ibig can continue to fulfill its mandate of providing affordable shelter financing for our members. Pag-ibig Fund developed a developers incentive program which allows us to measure the performance of our partner developers. We look at the quality of the mortgage documents, the quality of the units, the developer's track record, and the quality and the performance of the developer's accounts. That is why we are able to give back your savings at a high rate because we have a very good collection efficiency. As of last time that we have met, I think it's 93%. So we have to strictly observe so we can be able to give it back to you at a higher rates. We also provide consultation and advisory services to help our developers get their projects approved by Pag-ibig Fund, while we maintain firm guidelines and qualifications to accredit our developers. We also ensure that we set you up for success with the proper tools, technical advice, and program orientation so that there will be no confusion in the process. We also provide financial assistance through direct developmental loans so that our partner developers may continue and complete their planned housing projects. Performing developers are recognized by Pag-ibig Fund in a simple ceremony called the Stakeholders Accomplishment Report, or STAR. I believe, yes, Ma'am Blanca will be attending the STAR for the National Capital Region tomorrow. Yes. We recognize our partners. It's our way of giving back or thanking our partners for supporting Pag-ibig Fund. We invite the bests of the bests and acknowledge their contribution to the fund's success. Pag-ibig Fund's regular housing loan remains the most affordable and accessible shelter financing program in the country. Qualified members can borrow a total of up to 6 million pesos, depending on one's capacity to pay, with the longest terms of payment of up to 30 years. A borrower may avail of multiple loans, provided it does not exceed the total amount of the borrower's maximum allowable loan capacity, and of course, it will not exceed 6 million. So if you want to borrow and buy several units through a loan with Pag-ibig Fund, you can do so because you are now allowed to get multiple loans. Before, you have to pay off first your previous loan. This time, if you are capable or you still have, you are economically capable or income is still enough, you can avail of up to 6 million to buy 2-3 units for housing. Multiple borrowers or co-borrowers on a single project are also allowed, subject to pre-qualification and assessment. We offer the lowest interest rate in the market. Last July 2023, our housing loan rates with a repricing period of 3 years have been reduced from 6.375 to 6.250 per year. Rates for other longer repricing periods have all likewise been reduced. So we try to regulate our interest rate. If the fund can afford to lower it, we lower it for us to be able to encourage our members to really avail of a housing loan and realize their dreams of home ownership. For January to May 2024, we have released a total of 48.67 billion pesos in housing loans and assisted 34,225 members of Pag-ibig to have their own and better homes. On the other hand, for our members who are considered low income or minimum wage earners, we also have our affordable housing for minimum wage earners. Under this program, qualified borrowers may avail of 850 for horizontal, and the price ceiling offered by under the 4PH for vertical, provided that they are within the minimum wage, and of course the license to sell is socialized housing. So we have to check the license to sell. It has to indicate that it's a socialized housing. There are two parameters for affordable housing. The project where you are buying the property should be socialized housing as shown in the license to sell, and you should be within the minimum wage. If you are beyond the minimum wage, then automatically the system will have to shift you to the regular end user financing. Okay. From January to May of this year, our socialized housing loans were recorded at 1.28 billion pesos, financing around 2,827 socialized housing units from January to May. We have also been advocating countryside housing initiative. This is not a program, it's really an initiative. It's an initiative of Pag-ibig Fund to encourage other stakeholders to provide housing for their target beneficiaries. So this is one of the programs or strategies that my team is handling, wherein we encourage employers and associations to provide housing for their identified beneficiaries. So under this program, we partner with a proponent, or sometimes it's a local government unit, the association, a developer who helps us come up with a project. Sometimes the LG, if the LGU do not have a land or the proponent do not have a land, then they have to look for a landowner who is willing to partner with them. And of course, the main requirement is for them to have identified their target beneficiaries. So if we have these 4 parameters or 4 players, then we can be a partner of Pag-ibig Fund for the Countryside Housing Initiative. It's called Countryside. It's not in the countryside, really. It's really more on being able to provide affordable housing for those who cannot really afford, because we are able to drive down the costs because of the partnership. So there are about, we now have around 98 partners, local government units, associations, cooperatives, and we have yet to partner with a developer. We have been talking to developers to offer housing also for their employees. So may mga developers na rin po tayong kausap na they are willing to give a portion of their properties and develop it for their employees. For the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino program, or we call it 4PH program, hindi siya 4Ps, it's 4PH program. As soon as it was launched in 2022, Pag-ibig Fund was one of the first who committed to support the program. And we have allocated 250 billion pesos to finance the developmental loan of our partner developers or contractors, local government units, and other stakeholders. The variety of housing loans that our program members may choose from our township being approved by us in fulfillment of our mandates helps us be able to provide housing po to our members. The 250 allocation po, it will be spread in 6 years. So for this year alone, we have allocated 42 billion for developmental loan for the 4PH, stakeholders or partners. This will be on top of the regular loan or regular allocation for the end user financing. For this year alone, we are targeting to release 143 billion pesos to our members. Hopefully, that's our target, so we are also pushing for that. That is why Pag-ibig Fund was also one of the, okay. Under the developmental loan or 4PH program, we provide financing which can be used by developers, contractors, or the local government units in the development of housing units for their intended beneficiaries in predefined areas. The 250 billion funding commitment allows for the immediate development and construction of socialized housing units with a current price ceiling of 850 for socialized. The 4PH po is exclusively for the vertical. Sa ngayon, I believe NREA is really pushing for the 4PH to also cover horizontal development. Apparently, which is also, we know about that most of our members also prefer house and lot. But at the moment, what is being pushed by the DSUD and the government is the construction of vertical development. I suppose they'd like to produce more units to be able to serve more. That's why they are pushing, as of now, the vertical development. Whatever the decision of the SUD, whether it will be vertical or horizontal, as long as they declare that is now part of the 4PH, then the 250 will also be open to those proponents. Okay. We have approved a total of 216 billion pesos to finance the development of 17,235 units in 19 projects all over the country. We now have released a total of 1.101 billion pesos for 4 projects so far. We also have approved revolving fund or revolving credit line for the Social Housing Finance Corporation and the National Housing Authority. It will also help them construct units for the 4PH beneficiaries. As I have mentioned po kanina, the eligible entities will be developers, the local government units, contractors, and joint ventures. So these are some of the projects po that we have financed. This is with the LGU Bacolod City in Negros Occidental in partnership po with RS Realty. The property po is owned by the local government units, and they will be constructing 8 buildings so far. For the approved loan, it will cover initially 8 buildings to produce 1,056 condominium units. What's best is that while their buildings are not yet fully completed, they already have 600 confirmed buyers, which are currently performing background and background investigations. They also receive the first tranche of the 4PH loan release as soon as we receive their documentary compliances. So ito po, constructed na po ang almost 4 buildings, and I think 2 buildings will hopefully be turned over within the year. This one po is a project in Palayan, Nueva Ecija, in partnership again with the local government unit. The property is again owned by the LGU Palayan. They will be constructing several buildings, 10-floor stories. This one po is in LGU Bukawi, Bulacan. The property was acquired by the developer purposely to provide for PH in partnership with the local government unit. The last one that we have financed so far, we have released fund, is in Lawag City, Ilocos Norte, wherein the developer will be constructing 4 and 5 floors. Okay. So I've mentioned po, ito po yung SHFC that we also approved revolving line. Hindi po siya developmental loan ang term. It's a revolving line because they can, as soon as they have been paying the credit line, they can get second or third tranche of their loan. These are the projects po of SHFC. We have one in Davao City, almost finished. They already have 4 buildings constructed. Makita po ninyo yung loob. Maganda siya. I think the president will be going there sometime soon. They also have one in San Fernando, Pampanga, and another one in Tagaloan, Misamis Oriental. As I also mentioned po, we also approved 12 billion revolving line for the National Housing Authority. Okay. On top of as I've mentioned kanina, on top of the developmental loan offered to our developers, we also provide end-user financing to 4PH beneficiaries. The developmental loan of Pag-ibig Fund, the exit mechanism, meaning the developers pay their loan with Pag-ibig Fund through the takeout or the proceeds of the loan of the buyers. Kaya talaga pong partner yan. Meron kaming dev loan, meron ka ring end user because the developers will have to pay off their loan through the end user takeout. And the 4PH DDLP, or the 4PH end user financing, of course, is exclusively to purchase residential units on housing projects constructed for the 4PH program. A lot of our members are asking, can I be a 4PH beneficiary, but I want to buy another unit in another place? The 4PH end user is exclusively to finance development of 4PH projects. So yung buyer, pwede siyang maging eligible for the 4PH end user financing only if he is buying a property from a DSUD accredited 4PH project. So I'm not sure if everyone is aware of the requirements for the end user financing. These are basically the same requirements as the usual or the regular end user financing program. It's the same. Active members with 24-month savings. Some may be alarmed. What if I'm not yet a member for 24 months? Well, we do not. We allow lump sum payment or lump sum savings. So if you're only a member of Pag-ibig Fund for 6 months or for 1 year, all you have to do is pay in lump sum the remaining deficient amount. So kung 12 months pa lang, you just have to save lump sum the remaining 12-month savings. On top of the regular requirements for the end user financing, of the regular end user financing, this would also subjected all our 4PH beneficiaries to these two eligibility requirements. The first one is they must be a nominee of the nominee of the LGU, the Department of Migrant Workers, or any participating organization or institution as lead agency in partnership with the SUD. So kailangan po yung ating pong mga institution should have partnership with the SUD. So they are now working with Department of Migrant Workers. So OFWs may also enjoy the benefits of the 4PH program. And the most important requirement is that 4PH beneficiaries should be first-time homeowner. If you are a registered homeowner, that will disqualify you from enjoying the benefits of the 4PH. However, as you can see dun po sa baba, you may still buy a property from a 4PH project, but you will not enjoy the benefits of the program. So wala po kayong interest subsidy na makukuha sa government kung owner na po kayo. But you can buy a property from a 4PH project. The good thing about the 4PH project, as based upon our appraisal, is that because the price package the packages of 4PH are regulated, usually the appraisal is higher than the package price. So you are able to enjoy price subsidy, which you will enjoy upfront. Kasi nga po, usually po, kagaya dito, meron po tayong projects sa Caloocan. They have 2 projects in Caloocan. We also have 4PH project in San Mateo, Rizal. Another 4PH project in Quezon City. So these are highly urbanized areas. So you will never see a condominium unit worth 1.620 million in Metro Manila. But because the price is regulated, you cannot go beyond the ceiling given by the SUD. So basically, the cost, the actual value of the unit is about 3 million, 4 million, the same type of unit in the area. But for 4PH projects, you cannot go beyond 1.620 million, or 1.8 if it includes the site development and the land. So basically, you enjoy price subsidy from a 4 million condominium unit in Metro Manila against a 1.8 million condo for 4PH. Then you're able to save so much amount, substantial amount, or at least you have a substantial discount on the project upfront. On top of the price subsidy, you also have subsidized interest rate. This is what we are the DSUD is offering is 5% of the interest. So if Pag-ibig Fund is charging 6.250, the beneficiary will only shoulder 1.250. The rest will be shouldered by the government through DSUD, the 5%. And there are LGUs also who who offers financial assistance or amortization support. But hindi po lahat. Baka isipin nyo lahat may amortization support. Hindi po lahat. Meron po LGUs who offer financial support. Last June, we held our very own Developers Technical Forum where we introduced our virtual Pag-ibig for developers. We have virtual Pag-ibig for our online borrowers. They can apply through the online. Meron po tayong online, but OLA, with what we call OLA. We now have created a virtual Pag-ibig for developers. During the session, we help our partner developers navigate the ins and outs of the new facility via a walkthrough and simulation. The virtual Pag-ibig for developers allows you to access, or us to access, or our developers to access our members' database and check if potential client for housing